Have you heard about the CPI?
Yes, a little bit about
the
it.
Corruption Perception Index. We dropped, we slipped from 62 to 69 out of 178 countries. Our score dropped from 4.1 to 3.9. Government doesn't think that that should have happened in view of what it has done in 3 years. Just to quote Mr. Okuzeto Ablakwa, or just to refer to the issues that he raises, he talks about the president's exemplary leadership and unparalleled credibility as an open, incorruptible person, his open governance style, as well as his insistence on accountability by his appointees. And he's also talked about measures that have been put in place by governments, signing on to the Extractive Industry Transparency Index, the regular public declaration of proceeds from oil and gas, the sending of the Right to Information Bill to Parliament, the installation of new scanners at the airport to check the drug menace, the strengthening of the EOCO, collaboration with the media, in addition to implementation of reforms in the revenue collection agencies and the security services to fight corruption. And it says that all these have been done within 3 years, and it should have reflected. So the issue is that why is there still a relatively high perception of corruption when all these things have been done? But it says government will work very hard to get back to the 4.1. Interestingly, if you looked at this newspaper, I think it's the Globe, I believe. I just dealt with it. The Globe, you would find an SRMER announced on the front page. It says the state has failed me. Yeah. And it talks about all the revelations and the fact that he doesn't think that the state has acted in the way it should act. I just should say that this one predates the NDC. He's talking about issues from the NPP era to the NDC. A lot of things that he's done which he believes the state has not acted upon. Ursula.
Yes, let me say good morning to the viewers again, particularly the residents of Ablikoma South. I've missed you all, and I'm very happy to be back. Corruption Perception Index. I think over the years, not just this government, but successive governments have, well, corruption has been used as a major campaigning tool to overthrow successive regimes and to appeal for the mandate of the people. But if you see where we've come from and the amount of work the Kufuor administration did in terms of tackling corruption, the Procurement Act, the Internal Audit Agency Act, the financial services bills that we introduced, and all that in a bid to reduce the human element and cut down on the avenues for corruption, it still persisted. And looking at what Okuzeto Ablakwa is saying about what his government has done to, apparently they've also done something in a bid to cut down on corruption, but it's still persisting. And the question I was going to ask is, if the government itself and its appointees can look at the evidence that journalists like Anas has gathered, and they just pontificate about it, make noise about it, and do not take concrete steps to arrest the situation, then we're going to continue to be here where we find ourselves that progressively we're doing worse with corruption. And I think that when the president, in the aftermath of the customs expose, went to Tema and customs and made so much noise about the lifestyles of customs officials that it's difficult for him to see how a customs official can build a house in 3 years. We also pointed out that some of his appointees, within a few short years of being in office, are leading lifestyles which are not in consonance with the salaries that they're getting, so you should investigate that. They poo-pooed it. What do you expect? If the president thinks that a lifestyle audit is a good way to check people who are living above their means and therefore indulging and possibly indulging in corrupt practices, I thought that all the evidence that was put in front of him, they should have taken concrete steps to at least investigate those allegations and come out with something. They did nothing. I remember that in the run-up to the 2008 elections, the president was saying that even without evidence, on the basis of newspaper allegations, he would take action. We've gone beyond newspaper allegations, and people have been cited as living way above their means, even in their flag bearer, not the flag bearership contest, the primaries, the parliamentary primaries. I understood that one of the aspirants actually sponsored a documentary detailing the amount of work she had done in her constituency, and on the basis of that, appealing for the votes of the people. And if you looked at what, I wasn't here, I didn't see it, but from the comments that I heard and the reactions of people, it was obvious that the amounts of money she had spent in that constituency indicated that it would be difficult for a deputy minister to acquire that amount of wealth within the period in which that she had been in office. And people knew what she was doing prior to taking up political office, and the fact that she had been in political office for barely 3 years, and yet had been able to acquire the wealth to be able to do all that she had done in the constituency. All these raise issues. I am not saying that anybody on the basis of the work they've done in the constituencies is likely to be corrupt, but they raise issues which would entail some amount of investigation being conducted into the source of the income that all these activities were derived from. If all these happen, if you look at the operation something or other at the ports, another of the cocoa smuggling incident at the ports, another of the incidents that are now investigated, and nothing has come out of that as well, and all the many other things that have come out, one begins to wonder that, are we committed to fighting against this menace aside of the rhetoric? I understand the challenges. It's not easy. And it's not just a matter of the political leadership. We have a problem with the technocrats as well, who are consistently, and those who are supposed to be doing work for which they're paid for. I have a difficulty when we only point fingers at the political leadership. I think we also need to look at the professionals, the technocrats, the public servants also, who are engaged in acts which work against whatever efforts that the political leadership may be putting in place to arrest that issue. We are so interested in pointing fingers at presidents, ministers, and other government appointees, and this isn't a current problem, it's an age-old problem, that we lose sight of the fact that the perpetrators of the offense knock political heads together and slip under the radar and continue to do what they are doing.